send out a link or two, and then we'll get it going. Whenever you have a second, nice, you can check the stream to make sure it's going and we're not just talking to the void. Oops, I forgot to do this first. Okay. I'm doing this. The audio check. Ghost, how do you sound?
Test, 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 test.
Sounds legit. Ace, everything sound fine.
Check, check, check. How do I sound? Do I sound okay? Too loud? Not loud enough? Distorted? Clear?
The audio is pretty alright. I can't get a visual confirmation of what's going on with you yet, but.
Oh, yeah.
And then how about myself? Is the audio at an acceptable level? And is it clear? Am I coming in clear for y'all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to do the old turn it off, turn it on again. Oh, wait.
That'll be right perfect while we're about to start the podcast.
Never mind.
Dang, you like to switch it up.
Oh, shoot. I might need to change this
Yeah.
hoodie.
Oh, yo.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, give me a second. Give me a second.
Either dox yourself or you think people think you're an Elon fanboy.
It's fun. I think people would think
See that Tesla hoodie?
people would think the latter.
Being an Elon fanboy is not the move right now. For
Yeah.
most people, that is. Some people, I guess, are still rocking with them. But
Yeah, there's definitely some words I can say right now, but I'll let it rock. That was quick.
Okay. Good. Freaking Tesla.
We are streaming, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, guess we will start recording then, and just in 3, 2. It doesn't even ask you, do you want to start? But it'll ask you, do you want to stop?
Is running point. That's the name of the show I've been watching.
Okay, hopefully this looks alright. The names might be a bit off, but let's see. Take off that starting soon. Oh, everything looks good. Nice. That's what we like to see. The quality looks like it's a little bit degraded, but it's fine. We're here to talk about our thoughts, not our looks. Pardon me. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, guys. We're back. We're back to the Be Warned and Be Filled podcast. We have not everyone, but we have most of the guys, the crew, the family. Red Ace.
What's up?
We got Ghost.
yo,
And we got myself, QuestLando. Guys, how we all doing? How we all feeling?
Doing
Decent.
good. Now that we're doing the podcast.
That's what we love to hear. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, Ghost.
Yeah, I'm decent.
The classic. And I myself am doing not too bad either. It's been a evening, but we're back home, chilling, where I feel most comfortable. And honestly, even though at this point in time, or at current time recording, it's still a bit chilly out. You can definitely feel the spring in the air, the newness of everything. It's pretty much like Passover season, so there's a lot going on right with the world. In a world where there's a lot going on wrong. But before we get into all the ins and outs of the world, all the topics, all the stories, quick podcast intro stuff to get out the way. So, not only do we provide great conversation, but you can also stop by our podcast if you're in the mood to discover new music. Yes, we have a song selection of the week, and if you're interested, in the description below, there is a Spotify playlist where you can find a bunch of dope records that we recommend for the week. So if you're in the mood for some new music, check out a new artist, definitely recommend you again check out the Spotify playlist in the description below. Also, as you may or may not know, we do a nice long podcast here. So after the podcast, feel free to check back when we do a bit of editing, and there'll also be timestamps. So if you're interested in just checking out specific points of the video, again, who would watch a 2-hour plus podcast? We totally get it. And if you're interested in just consuming way shorter content than that, we definitely implore you to check out our channel. Go to the videos tab, and you will find all of our topic discussion videos spliced up, easily digestible. But aside from that, before we get into the topics, we also, if we have any, like to come on here and provide Any content recommendations outside of music, of course. Any books, movies, shows, actual IRL shows that you might have consumed recently. We come on here and try to give you our recommendations, or or if we have any warm reviews. Haha, get it. We got anything this week?
Yeah, I got my warm review. Just one. Um, Last night I went out to see a concert. Um, Saw this band called The Plot in You. They're a metalcore band. They've been around for about a decade, but they're a recent discovery for me. Um, yeah, metalcore is like a blend of like hardcore and punk. So other bands in the genre are like um, All That Remains, Norma Jean, those type of bands. Um, but yeah, so uh, yeah, they're a recent discovery for me. And also one of my friends put me on, so we decided to go together since our taste in music don't really overlap that much. So we went with a group. Um, the band was playing at the Palladium, which I've been there one time before, but there's like um two different areas where you can have the shows, I guess. There's like one very small part of the venue. It's almost like a large hallway at the end where the bands play. And then there's like the arena part of the venue that's massive. It's maybe the biggest arena I've been to so far to see a show. Where this band did play. Um so yeah, I planned to carpool to go see to yeah, to go to the venue and see the show, but I got out kind of late, so I missed the first opener and I caught like this last couple of songs of the second opening band, but then I did see the full set of the third opener and the headliner, the full set of the headliner. And
Dang, you
yeah,
never show
I
up to a show late.
yeah, I try not to, but uh yeah, actually that's another story why I was late. I can tell you guys later, but um yeah, no, the bands that I did see, they were dope. Like this is not 100% my particular like favorite genre or anything like that. So it's not like these bands aren't necessarily who I listen to in my typical rotation, but seeing them live, like it's always, I think, better for me just to be able to see like the technical capabilities of the band members and how well they put on the show overall. So it was still very enjoyable. Um, and the other thing about these shows is like the metalcore is a genre where being amongst the crowd and just how much energy the crowd has is almost just as much of an experience as seeing the bands themselves play. So yeah, it was just a ton of energy. Crowd was going crazy, which is the type of show I like to see. So yeah, overall good, great time.
Dope, dope. One more time for the people who were there.
The plot and you, I added a track to the recommendations at the end, just to give an
Nice.
idea.
Get a nice direct feed into what you were rocking out to. No, wrong with a nice little show. What was I about to say? What was the timeline? Well, I was gonna ask what was the timeline between you discovering them and then you going to a show? Because I was gonna ask, is that common for people? But I guess you said if a friend recommended to you and they were going, and I guess that gave you the extra oomph to go check them out.
Yeah, exactly. It was probably either December or January that he um shared them with me, and then I mean he'd been wanting to go to a show as well for a while now, but just wasn't finding a band that he actually wanted to see. So when he found this band, and so, like I said, our tastes kind of overlap with them, so I figured this would be a good one.
Gotcha. Makes sense. And yeah, I haven't heard the records yet, but I can imagine what you're saying was true. Cause I was thinking like in particular, some of the bands that you rock with, no pun intended, they're kind of like baseball. And usually that's like a lot. Usually that would be a whole insult, but I think you can say you get just as much, if not more, enjoyment seeing them IRL live, like going to like a real baseball game, opposed to just looking at or watching at home. So
Right.
I can imagine that's a dope show. Hopefully, you got like a
Yep.
footage or a picture so we can see what it was like. But it
Oh
feels
yeah,
like
I
you got.
do. Yeah.
Oh, nice, 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 nice. Okay, dope, dope. I think that was it for warm reviews slash contract recommendations. So if there's nothing else, we can go straight to the topics. Sorry, I want to write something down. And we definitely got some topics I'm definitely interested in hearing you guys' takes on. But, typically we like to start with something light, something not too crazy. So let me do a quick shift and then we can get into it. Let me go here for a second, and let me go here. The names might be out of order, but it's fine. I'll fix them. Okay. Yep, the names are of course not where they're supposed to be, but can I fix them real quick before anyone even notices? Okay, good enough. Okay. So like I said, it's like start off some light, and even more so, like we always say, we cover a wide variety of topics on this podcast, not just entertainment or history. We like to also delve into technology sometimes. So I don't know if anyone peeped this, and I know this is like the millionth time we've seen something like this, but indulge just for a second. So Salute the Shade Room. California-based aviation company shows off world's first electric. I was about to say, I feel as if I've seen actually maybe all electric, because I feel as if you have an electric vehicle, a flying vehicle, it's probably a large electric in nature. But anyway, uh, shows off world's first electric flying car during auto show. And if you're interested in the company specifically, it's Alif, an automotive company in Northern Cal, displayed their flying car during an auto show in Silicon Valley. The tech advanced automotive is set to undergo production in 2026. Okay. If you guys are interested in a flying car, look out next year. As its market price is already a whopping $300K. Well, we'll look at it and see if it seems like it's worth the price. With the high demand of over 3,000 pre-orders. In a statement, Jim with a W, I'm not going to say that last name, the CEO and co-founder of Alif stated, "It's a regular electric vehicle with one more function, which none of the cars have. It can actually vertically take off and fly forward." So let's see a vid, and I don't know if the audio is important. Hopefully, it's not some copyright stuff. But let's take a vid and see if this is worth it. And you guys already know what I'm going to ask. Would you guys be wanting to take a test drive of this vehicle?
Maybe the future the Jetsons predicted isn't too far off. After all, Aleph, a Northern California-based aviation company, showed off its flying car at the Silicon Valley Auto Show this past weekend. Boy, look at that. The car is 100% electric. The company says they ran a successful test flight in a city this month and have nearly 3,000 pre-orders.
One more function which none of the cars here have. It can actually vertically take off and fly forward.
The car costs a steep $300,000. Production is set to begin at the end of this year or early 2026 if all goes according to plan.
Dang, I should have just let them talk. So that's a cool little car. Not to, when I say little, I always mean it with the, inviting or regards. But yeah, so what do y'all play it again? Let's see if we can stop on a part where I actually can see it. Yeah, like that. There you go. So, initial take. We all, grew up with the Jetsons, Back to the Future, and this company I don't know why they're saying the first flying car. You can in some parts of the world you can literally Uber flying. You use an Uber flying car. Obviously, it's more like a small helicopter, but that's what they call it, a flying car. Anyway, what do we think? Would you take a test drive or even potentially want this vehicle in the future? We'll start off with you, Ace. Would this be your dream car?
No, not at all. I mean,
Damn it.
besides the fact that it's so ugly, like,
Oh, come on.
this looks like an AI generated image and video. Like, it's just an ugly car. But yeah, besides that, like, I don't know. I mean, you did mention just now that there are Uber flying vehicle options, which I wasn't aware of, but this doesn't even look like a well-designed flying vehicle. Like, just,
Let it
I
play
mean,
without the sound.
yeah, I
What
mean,
you
the sound too
mean?
is loud as hell, um,
It's a
but
flying mechanism. You think of the air?
uh,
What do you hear when an airplane takes off?
I mean, exactly. Like, I don't want something loud to be what I'm driving around in. Like, I want my vehicle to be quiet as well. So somehow you just got to figure out anti-gravitation, not
God.
this fan-based stuff. We got to get more into the theoretical physics to get a better version of this. But um no, besides that, like, I don't, this seems very dangerous. Like, I don't see flying cars taking off in general because of the added danger of having a vehicle in this, in the air versus on the ground. Like,
Yeah, it's the
it's
literal
just
dangers of flying.
inherently more more risk of like serious um endangerment to the public, like, besides just the people driving in the cars, like, to the public. If the thing falls out the sky, I mean, how many aviation issues have we seen in the last 3 months? Like,
But come on, they probably said the same thing when they invented regular cars. They probably said, "Oh, we can't put an engine in this thing; it's too dangerous."
it's different. It's different. Like, it's different, man. Like, these things could fly into buildings. They can, I mean, yeah, at height, and they can fall out the sky. A
You just
regular
gotta,
car,
you just have to get a
To
different
play
license.
devil's advocate here, you could say like a regular car could drive into a building, could drive into a pedestrian. Like I I get the hangups, but I think that concern in particular, it's like I feel like it's not they're probably not gonna be flying hundreds of feet in the air. Is it really that much more dangerous than a regular car?
Definitely more dangerous. There's
yeah.
no doubt
I
about
mean,
that.
it's more dangerous, but like that much more that it'd be like a significant thing.
I
I don't
feel
know.
like it's just there's more, like, the damage that can be caused from an in-air collision is, like, it's just
That's not funny.
there's more risk than a ground-based collision. Like, two cars crash into each other. I mean, yeah, crash into each other on the ground. It's more likely that they're the only two vehicles that get into any trouble, even if you rear end somebody on the ground. Versus in the sky, if the thing gets rear ended and is caused to, for whatever reason, go out of whack, it imbalances, and then it tips over, something like that, it's falling onto other vehicles, like, or pedestrians. That's
If it
why I
helps,
think
I don't
it's
know if you can rear end a vehicle when it's flying because I don't think this vehicle can stay in motion in the air. I think it also has to be going forward by the looks of it, but I don't know. I don't know the specs.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, you could say that in general, the goal is not necessarily for them to have flying cars take off. I mean, take off. Become a commonplace thing, or replace ground-based vehicles. And if that's the case, the risk I'm citing are much less likely. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't. I'm over my need for flying cars. It just seems much more like it'll always be a novelty than an actual means of, like, legit means of transportation.
Damn. You gotta go back and watch like Phil the Future song. You need to get Future hooked. Anyway, well, fair enough. Fair enough. You're not feeling it. What? Sorry. What about you, Ghost? Based off this little demo, what do you think about this flying car? Would you take it for a test drive? Would you whip it?
And like this reminds me of the remote control RC helicopters that we used to play with when we were kids. Like that shit
It definitely
sounds
looks
so
like a toy, don't it?
loud. Yeah, like I could hear it, or you could see it kicking up so much dust in that first clip. It's like,
It's
come
a
on,
flying
bro.
vehicle. What do you guys want?
I, I mean, I get that it's a novelty, but when I think flying vehicles, I'm thinking Jetsons. Like I didn't see no crazy drone type mechanics. I realize that this is a freaking cartoon, but like those shits flew smooth. There was no
Exactly.
dust. Like, come on.
You need anti-gravity. Like it's not time yet.
Yeah, like I'm thinking Back to the Future. Like we have the idea implanted in our minds. Like at this point, I don't think we're gonna settle for anything subpar.
Mm.
You guys, yeah, we just need this thing that's like damn it, theoretically not realistic. It's all everything's a stepping stone. We don't just get to seamless, quiet, no fans or motors. You gotta take it step by step. And this
But you
is different.
don't. You don't. Because
You
if we
could,
had,
could you?
if they said no, let's not do this. Let's wait until we have the theoretical physics to avoid the fan-based stuff.
That's not how. That's not how technology progresses.
There's no reason. There's no reason for there to be a stepping stone where we use the garbage vehicles until we get to that. Like we
First
can
of
just
all,
wait.
this is $300,000 worth of technology, so it's garbage.
No, it's a $300,000 waste of technology.
Listen, they said they got high demand and they got pre-orders, so somebody wants it. Let's be clear. Like y'all keep calling it a novelty. Can y'all put some respect on this? How is it a novelty?
I'm still not convinced this isn't an AI. This isn't an AI video. Like this, it looks garbage.
It still
literally-
looks like absolutely like AI.
They
but
literally you see that's a whole other conversation. Everything's AI, y'all. It was literally demoed in SiliconValley at Auto Show. Like this is real deal. Like we're gonna see the one flying. I know right now it's kind of we're on awe when we see a Cybertruck going down the highway. We're gonna see these next year. So wait, like it or not, it's gonna happen. I wonder who's gonna be the first rapper to get one. Probably Rick Ross.
goodness.
Anyway,
But it's gonna crash it, and it's gonna be a wrap. Like it's gonna be a wrap.
now that is definitely a whole nother level of conversation because in order to have flying vehicles, we have to deal with all the unfun stuff like literally developing a whole set of laws for flying vehicles. Probably have to get a different license.
We can't even get self-driving going. Like, come on, this ain't
We can do
happening.
self-driving in a small vacuum. They can definitely
I
do the
do
parallel-
wonder
they can they can do
what
the parallel park.
happens. if
No,
this
I'm not saying
becomes
it's not
electric.
possible. I'm just saying like legislative wise.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
barely got anywhere that allows self-driving. Like,
Sorry, what are you saying, Ghost?
What was I saying? Oh yeah. What happens when this thing runs out of battery midair?
So I'm on record, and I don't even like saying it out loud because I am an engineer, so I feel as if I should be just working on it instead of talking about it. But the way they have to do it, well, one of my theories, or the way they have to do it, you have to design it, and I think aircrafts probably they do similar thing with aircrafts. Well, not all aircraft, because some aircrafts they literally run out of gas while they're in the air. But you have to set it up to where it can only go the distance of that respective charge. So you would put in the coordinates, and then it would go, but only based off the level of battery or indoor fuel source. So you can't
there's
like
no
if you
there's
so
no
if you only
free
have
driving.
yeah exactly, which would make it less fun, but that's one of the only safe measures because you can't have a vehicle where you can be in the middle of the air and it just run out of power. I don't see how that would work.
I mean, that's what happens with planes, though. Like, you have to know how much fuel you need to get where you're going.
True. So maybe they either have to regulate it as much as they regulate planes, or I think you'd have to do something like no free drive. It's only can go the distance of how much fuel or power you have. Yeah, y'all are tech haters for some reason. Well, this one looks like a toy. I think it's the start, and I don't know why did the design like this. It does look kind of, especially from this angle, it look kind of goofy, don't it?
This is the angle you're gonna see it at.
Yes. All right. Petty party, huh? All right. Listen, there's nothing wrong with a nice prototype, a nice, trailblazer to lead the way. I don't know why they keep calling this the first one. There are definitely other ones, but maybe this is the one that's fully electric. I don't know the full details, but salute to the company, and maybe not now at this point in time, but you definitely, for all my investors out there, be on the horizon lookout for the EV flying. It's going to be the EVF or EFV. Look out for flying cars. You might want to invest in that. But if there's nothing else, we can go on to the next topic. Okay. So, I don't know if y'all have been peeping this, but there's a lot of shenanigans going on in high school these days. There's people, some of it's, the same old. People get into fights that are going viral, which I wonder how that's impacting people. Like back in the day when there's a fight at school, it's just literally everyone that was in that little hallway at the time was hip to it. If you missed school that day, you just missed it. There's that weird story going on with that sister that was doing the track race that hit that girl. I don't know what the story was there or why the little girl was crying, but and then there's this story. We have a couple of high school related stories, but there's this story I don't know if y'all heard about. This is gonna hurt a lot of hurt a lot of people in general. Crocs. I don't know why they're introing like this, but still talking about this adjacently. Crocs may be a popular footwear choice among kids, but schools across the U.S. have reportedly banned Crocs over safety concerns. Administrators in at least 20 states are enforcing the ban, claiming the slip-on shoes pose risks of injury and potential liability issues for schools. Let's play this video and see what they have to say.
Perforated foam footwear with a ferocious name, Crocs. So popular, the company says about 150 million pairs are sold every year.
I'm gonna be living in these.
But those Crocs are also at times a trip.
You good, bro?
Some schools now taking action, banning them outright. That's the case at one Alabama public high school where Principal Stoney Pritchett is taking enforcement seriously.
It actually is a safety hazard. Man, they can twist their knees, twist their ankles, things like that. So you won't have tennis shoes on all the time.
Here at Bessemer City High School, wearing these will land you here in in-school suspension. Not exactly where you want to be landing, just for shoes.
The school's had Crocs folded into its no open-toe policy for years, as other schools commonly have with flip-flops and slides. But this is the first school year it's enforcing the policy. Junior Mackenzie Lawson was told to swap on the spot.
When they told you that, what was your first thought?
Are we serious?
Mario Mejia got caught too.
Like you just walked in and immediately someone sniffed you out?
Well, at first they really didn't notice it, but when I was walking out the restroom, an administrator had noticed him. He walked me to school detention.
Maya Moss got in-school suspension. And at home?
How'd you deal with it?
I took the phone. I took the computer.
For how long?
For 2 weeks.
Maya arguing that Crocs are not a safety issue.
If it's an emergency, we can still wear our Crocs because we can put them in sports mode and we can run.
Who's to say they're going to keep them in sports mode?
It's real easy. Just get your feet, take them out, and put your feet back in.
You can't go on a basketball court and go side to side, lateral, and jump up now and with Crocs on. It's a hallway. Kids are moving. Things are happening. It's a safety hazard.
Some podiatrists say Crocs and open-toe shoes like flip-flops are fine to wear in moderation, but do pose risks.
Crocs can easily get caught in equipment, causing the child to fall or injure their foot or rip a toenail off, things I see in the office on a daily basis.
We counted dozens of schools in at least 20 states explicitly banning Crocs in their dress codes, often as part of their open-toe shoe policies. A Crocs spokesperson saying the classic clog is a comfortable casual shoe that is appropriate for everyday wear. We are not, nor do we market ourselves as a specialty or performance brand. The spokesperson calling the school's bans unfortunate, adding they haven't affected sales. The brand, hate it or love it, has been a fashion statement for more than 20 years. Crocs reporting its sales more than tripled since 2019. The clunky clogs with the custom charms building a cult following. Celebs rocking them, and big names like Bieber even collaborating with them. Crocs of every color and flavor, from chips to chicken. It's no wonder there's a Croc community.
I'm constantly hunting down new pairs.
While Crocs may have won over celebrities and fanatics alike, Principal Pritchett isn't budging.
It's a safety hazard. I mean, things happen. If they break out with something happen, they have these high heels on and slip and fall. The school is liable.
Maya says she won't wear them to school again, but with 6 pairs in her closet, the Crocaholic will have to sport them somewhere else.
When she got school suspension, in-house suspension, I'm like, no. Those are house shoes now.
Those are house shoes now. Guys, the podiatrist that we spoke with says there is a time and place for Crocs. So while you probably shouldn't run in them, there's no issue wearing them in moderation, and they can even be great as a post-workout recovery shoe. It's a Croc down, as you said, Savannah.
Yeah, it's a Croc down.
I don't know if you have views on whether or not, like, with your...
This is a whole, like, new special. Damn. Anyway, so yeah, we're obviously far removed from high school here, but it seems like schools are still implementing rules that, you know, the young folks are going to find bogus, lame, so on and so forth. And, you know, well, first of all, let's start off. I can already wager your lack thereof of these shoes, but you're a young boy still. Goes, come on, keep it a buck. You are a pair or pairs?
Nah, I've always been kind of a Croc hater, and I've actually lessened on that stance. But I don't have a pair of Crocs. I'm never getting Crocs. For how comfortable people claim they are, they cost too much, way too much.
That's a good question. I don't even know what a pair of Crocs costs. That's a good ass point. But anyway, well, regardless of we actually own a pair, we all know that they're hella popular, especially among youth. They're also popular among nurses too, which is why I'm surprised somebody in the medical field would be, pardon me, against them. But it's hard to me. Drink a lot of water. Anyway, but yeah, schools banning this particular footwear. They have all banned flip flops. I don't know about y'all, but back in the day, you definitely couldn't wear slides. Which I be seeing some young boys these days be wearing slides to school, so it feels like they're not enforcing it as much as they used to. But regardless, in general, what do y'all think about schools banning particular shoes like Crocs and stuff like that? Do y'all think that is really they really have a leg to stand on with the safety concern stuff, or do you think it's just some school enforcing something? Some laws, some rules, just to make kids pissed off. Because honestly, those little videos they showed were holy dramatizations, and I've never seen anybody bust their butt in Crocs, but maybe y'all have. What y'all think goes, or what do you think goes? You have a problem with the ban? No problem. Don't care.
I guess not, mostly because, like, again, I'm not a Croc fan, but there's not really any justification for why it'd be banned other than safety, like, which is why I'm leaning towards it being a valid concern. And at the end of the day, like, it's literally just a shoe, it's a slipper, whatever you want to call it. So it's not that big a deal if it's banned, if we're being honest, outside of like the principle of it. Like, I guess I'm cool with it.
What do you mean? Imagine if you went to school freshed out, your little fit, and then as soon as you got to school, they say,
I
Boss,
am not going to
take
be
those
freshed
off.
out in no Crocs.
I guess it's more
like
I guess it's more comfortability thing than it's your dope pair.
Yeah, it's 100% for how much people claim they're comfortable, but I wouldn't care. But again, like, I suppose if I did like Crocs, if it was a shoe I did like, then I could maybe see some type of justification, or I might be upset about it. But I feel like it's just, you gotta kind of take the L if you're a Crocs fan. Like, it is what it is.
If you were a parent like that mom, would you be cool about it, or like agreeing with the school, like, oh, she's getting in trouble, or would you be pissed that that school's taking away your child's shoes?
I think like detention or anything like that is too much, but if it's a school rule, even if I think it's a stupid rule, then I'm be like, yeah, it's dumb, but you got to do what the school said. So I probably be on board with it to some extent.
That's light. Back in my day, they had a rule you couldn't wear jackets in school, even though it was like the dead of winter.
That's crazy. That's
What
crazy.
that's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
That's got to be illegal. Like,
I'm just telling you what happened. And they used to come around with like a trash bag.
That's
If you were wearing
crazy.
jackets in the hallway, or if they passed by the classroom, you were wearing jackets, they would take your jacket and put that put that jacket in that bag. And then
That's
later, my principal was a tweaker, a whole tweaker. Later, I don't know where they got it, but they brought a shopping cart to the school, and they would go around the halls with the shopping cart and take people's jackets. Man, there was one point in time where that thing
nah,
was loaded up like like a car of groceries with jackets.
nah. I'd have a problem with that.
You have to
That's
keep
crazy.
you have to keep in mind. I am leaving out the fact that we had uniforms back in my school, so you have to be wearing uniform.
Yeah, but they should give you a
Still,
uniform for a jacket part of the uniform too. Like, what the heck, dude?
that's
It's
crazy.
cold.
Hey man, they weren't playing. Fair enough, fair enough. What about you, Ace? You think the schools are tweaking with the ban on Crocs? Are you with the Croc culture?
No, I hate Crocs. I absolutely despise Crocs. I think they're the ugliest shoes ever. Um, so just from that standpoint, it's hard for me to sympathize
What
at
do you mean?
all.
What are you wearing? What are your house shoes?
I mean, my house shoes people would consider ugly, but I just I hate Crocs and I hate that they're popular. Like because people knew when they first came out, or not maybe when they first came out, but when they started to get popular in like 2010, 2011-ish, where they at least started showing up in Walmarts and stuff, and people wearing them. People got clowned for it, and then there was this shift kind of out of nowhere where it became cool, and I think it's because like in the fashion industry, people wore them ironically, and now it's just they're cool, and they never like the look's always been ugly to me. So I don't understand how people maybe like you said it's for the comfort, but I couldn't get past the look. Like I would never put one of those on my feet in my life.
Dang.
It's so ugly.
What about when you put it in sports mode?
So we are not gonna get any Crocs
The fact
sponsor.
that it has another mode is hilarious. That is pretty funny to me. That it has its own name and it
Well,
has
it
like
wouldn't be a
a
sponsor. We'd
different
get a collab.
configuration. But yeah, no, yeah, ugly, ugly, ugly shoe. But outside of that, like I'm I'm fine with the like shoe restrictions in school for safety. I mean, it's never been an issue where I was wearing something that would violate, but at the same time, I don't think I would have a problem if I did. The only thing is, like you said, or like Ghost said, I think like the suspension is an inappropriate uh penalty, in particular for somebody who's it's the first time that they like they're being
First time
made
offender.
aware. Yeah, or the first time they were caught with it, I guess. Because even if the school like has it as the policy, maybe they didn't see it, whatever. So I don't think a first time offender should get suspension. I think the mom backing it up like off the first time was kind of silly to me as well. Unless I was misinterpreting that. Like I think the person should be able to wear to school for I mean the what they have there for the rest of the day, and which is the Crocs. If that's the only thing they have, they should be able to wear that for the rest of the day. And then the next day they should be expected to have on a different shoe, and maybe they have to like, I don't know, check into the office in the morning or something like that to verify. Um, but yeah, overall, like I'm perfectly fine with schools enforcing things for safety's sake, even if they're going over the top. You know, I can't judge a school and say, or a principal and say, well, you didn't actually see anybody fall or anything like that, because I don't know what they saw. So
I
if
mean,
they
you
believe
kind of
it's
can. They're talking about like students can trip and slip, especially during activities like running in the hallways. Well, isn't running in the hallways should be the band part?
I mean,
How about we just not run in the hallways, or not run, so there's no tripping?
I'm sure that's another piece of it too. Like I'm sure, or maybe this isn't true, but I would assume they have some policy against running in the hallways as well. But but I don't know. Like they want the students to be as nimble as possible. You know, don't have or minimize the risk of tripping downstairs and
You gotta
stuff
be a
like that.
ninja to attend high school now.
They just don't want the liability. Let's be real. They don't want.
And they kept talking about the open shoe policy, which they definitely you definitely couldn't wear slides back in my day either. But Crocs aren't open toed. They're
considering it because of the holes.
Vented toe.
That's how they're getting. That's how they're classifying them, because of the holes. Which, I mean, you could say, oh, fabric is never fully nor non-ventilated, but whatever. I'll let them have it because I hate Crocs.
And they're also talking about like the lack of ankle support, because Crocs obviously Crocs are just open.
Mm-hmm.
But there's mad shoes that don't have quote unquote ankle support. If you wear do Air Force One lows have ankle support?
Is that what they were talking about, or just the fact that if you're not in sports mode, you don't have to.
Sports mode is so stupid. I'm just saying. Back in my day, and speaking of ugly shoes, a lot of folks used to wear like Toms, even the guys. Those things don't have ankle support. There's a lot of shoes that don't have quote unquote ankle support. Matter of fact, unless you're wearing freaking Timbs, your ankles can easily be exposed. All I'm saying. So I don't know. I feel as if these young boys and young girls found the right lawyer that would waste their time on this nonsense. They could get this bands on. They get this bands lifted. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That's fine.
I was gonna ask, do you remember any bans for anything back when you went to high school, for like clothes or related, anything like that?
Yeah, just flip flops. Girls had like a skirt length requirement. Also, they couldn't wear like the noodle strap or whatever shirts.
Noodle strap.
I feel like girls had a lot more restrictions.
I was just about to say, I remember that length of the short skirts thing. Yeah, that's crazy. Just blatant sexism back in, even when you're in high school.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, there were definitely restrictions. They never affected me, but
that's because you wear the same thing they used to wear. You wear now. Man, one day we're gonna be transparent. We're gonna post some pictures of ourselves back when we were in high school.
That's rough. That's rough.
I feel as if I look largely the same. I just have no facial hair, and I was kind of scrawny.
I went through my trying to emulate 2000s rappers phase in 9th grade,
Jesus.
and then I think just after that I went into a bummy phase, like a homeless person phase.
That's a wild phase, by the way.
Jesus Christ.
But I digress. Either way, the moral of the story is, for all the young listeners out there, be mindful of your school's rules and regulations, because it seems like they're getting a bit more strict about your footwear, and you don't want to lose your Crocs or end up in detention or suspension for your literal shoe wear. And yeah, I don't know. Ultimately, like you said, they've always had bans, and I don't know. Obviously, we don't have kids in high school. Or we're not super locked tuned in. I'm not, so I don't know if they're kind of stricter or less strict with it these days. But it's better to be safe than sorry. School is really, even though we grew up on Disney shows and Nick shows where they would make it seem like it. School is really not a fashion show. You might as well just wear what the school wants you to wear and just thug it out. And then after school is where you get fresh. That's what was the strat. But I digress. If there's nothing else, we can move on to the next topic. There's actually 2 links for this. I feel as if I want to pull up the other one first because that one came out longer ago. It's light skin in my eye. So, still on the subject of high school, I don't know if you all heard of this story. This actually broke a while ago. You can see the date. This is from like 2024. But I never got around to talking about this. But it's somewhat not too far from home. So I think that's why the story came across my desk a while ago. Even though I think it gained a bit more national news somewhat recently. So, if you haven't heard, this Hartford public school grad can't read. Damn, that's a hell of a headline. Here's how it happened. I probably should have be sure to say her name. I'm assuming it's just Alicia. Alicia Ortiz, lawyer, said the young woman's story may be one of the most shocking cases of educational neglect she's has seen in 24 years. Is there a video attached to this? Scroll over to. Jesus, they really made it.
Slides. It's a PowerPoint.
Oh, wow. Okay. Alicia's story. So this young lady who came to Hartford from Puerto Rico with her family when she was young struggled with language and other challenges along the way. But a confluence of circumstances, apparent apathy, and institutional inertia pushed. I never heard that one. Institutional inertia. I like that alliteration. Pushed her haphazardly to the school system. According to Ortiz, her attorney and district officials, Ortiz can't read even most one-syllable words. Holy moly! This little girl can't even say cat. The words she can read were memorized during karaoke from subtitles at the bottom of TV screens and associated the words she saw what she heard. I heard a lot of ESL folks learn English through just watching TV. I don't understand why it's not as simple to learn Japanese to watch anime though. But that's a whole different thing. Keep going. Elementary, middle school. Ortiz was never taught to read or write despite attending schools in Hartford since she was 6. So for you tell if you from 6 to 18, this little girl was never taught to read? Holy moly. She was diagnosed with a speech impediment and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, in early childhood and has been classified as a student with disability for as long as I can remember, she said. While other students made friends and learned basic math and reading skills. That's the other crazy part. If you don't know how to read or write, where are your math skills at? Or do you guys think you can actually be proficient in math even if you can't read and write?
I don't know how you would.
Let's see. Ortiz. Oh, sorry. Keep going. Preparing for high school, Ortiz tried to use picture books to teach herself how to read. Dance little girl trying to teach herself. That must be really hard if you dad cannot read teaching yourself. Go to my pops. That's one of the 2 things he taught me. Picture books to teach herself how to read. When she wasn't successful, she got through her freshman year of online learning through the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID's high school student. With Google Translate, she can scan a photo and read the text out loud. Sophomore year was Ortiz's first time doing the same work as everybody else. So she made it through the whole freshman year using Google Translate, by the way. I would go to class, I would record and try to memorize everything the teacher said and what they wanted to write. Then, when I went home, I would stay and hear the recordings. Basically went to school 2 times in one day. Well, at least they had dedication if this is true. What else? Systematic shortfalls. In a recording of a June 6th meeting with the district special education administrator. Ortiz can be heard. I wonder if we'll get to hear it. Saying she would deny the right to a fair education. What does that mean? When teachers didn't teach her how to write, when disabilities testing wasn't done accurately, and when she felt ashamed by educators after she brought up how her individualized education plan wasn't being followed correctly. Okay, so they put her on like some type of academic probation or plan, but they didn't actually follow through with it. Dang, is anyone feeling like they're about to cry yet? Conversations with school officials were often riddled with miscommunication, frustration, disagreement, with several instances of people speaking over one another or Ortiz leaving the room in tears. Dang. There was a lot of pushback stating that the district doesn't provide that the school at the high school level that they would need to get creative in how they would provide these services to her. So basically, they were like discussing how they would go about teaching the little girl to read, but they didn't actually come to a consensus. There's always a kind of lingering talk of something would be done, but there was never anything proactive being done, a social worker said, who worked with Ortiz said. Graduation, because this little girl did graduate. Ortiz was able, she looks happy there. Ortiz was able to graduate because she had met all her credit requirements. How do you meet are some of the credit requirements not English class? English language arts? But she says she was only able to survive high school through the use of speech to text application within a calculator. Okay, so they apparently can do math. I wonder if they had a what's it called? I haven't even used my calculator in a couple months. A TI-80. And though limited, the accommodations helped Ortiz become a honor. So hold on. So we're talking about an honorable student that cannot read or write. Some not adding up, and led her to her acceptance to several colleges, including the University of Hartford, Connecticut. Fun fact: West went to UHart, which she began as a part-time in August. Can Wes read or write? I'm just joking. Ortiz filed for due process against the district in late June, which is an illegal procedure in special education that's triggered when families feel their right was violated. Ortiz told the Connecticut Mirror, or CT Mirror, that she shared her story so her experience doesn't repeat in other children's. Fun fact, it actually does. It's knowing that more kids are falling through the cracks of the system, and we are still making it seem like everything's great, and that we're doing better for the next generation. And I always wanted to ask when, Ortiz said. So if this story doesn't tear at your heartstrings, I can actually imagine it not, and I can imagine what will. So, pardon me. So yeah, this story broke a few, obviously, months ago. This little girl made it all the way through high school, literally 4 years, and was able to get college accepted. Although they claim they cannot read and write, and obviously for this particular instance, it was large because of, I believe, the ESL factor. But it seems like there's some evidence that suggests they were diagnosed with some level of speech impediments and just mental disorders. Pull up the other story. I guess it just makes sense to go through both of them all at once. So the story did in fact repeat itself. I had to double check to see if this was like the same story or a different story, but this is happening. I didn't know it's happening on a yearly basis. A high school student in Tennessee is suing his school district after graduating with 3.4 GPA, which is not bad whatsoever, yet couldn't read or write. A school system that prides itself on 100% graduation rate is in hot water after. Should high schools have a 100% graduation rate? That's interesting. Anyway, after a student who couldn't read or write graduates with a 3.4 GPA and turned around and sued the school districts, the Clarksville Montgomery County school system in Tennessee is being sued by a former student referred to as William A. Despite graduating in 2024, so this was literally last year. Despite graduating in 2024 with 3.4 GPA, William is unable to read due to his undiagnosed dyslexia. The lawsuit alleges that the school district failed to provide him with the free, appropriate public education as required by federal law in February 2005, and the federal a federal appeals court ruled in Williams' favor, affirming that the school had not met its obligation under the Individuals with Disabilities Act. Oh, I've heard that before. What are your thoughts? So yeah, it seems like this is not a one-off case. You do see the instances where people are literally graduating high school. Some people with honors, honor rolls. Some people with, moderately decent GPAs, and they just cannot read or write. And the fact that it's happening like across the country is significant, because they always talk about like schools in the South. I'm just saying what they say. No offense to all the Southern listeners. The educational system is just not taking it serious, and obviously, a lot of schools are like in South or more rural areas. I say a lot about Florida too, so I don't know what's happening down there. But yeah, you've seen these kids that literally can't read or write, and that's kind of unfathomable to me. I'm not saying I was the best student at all, but I feel as if I couldn't read the books that they required us to read. The classics like Mice and Men, They Make You Read. What was the one we're holding? A Catcher in the Rye. Yes. You had to read those back in the day, so I don't know how you were able to pass without reading those. I guess you could hop on Spark Notes, but if you can't read the Spark Notes, then you're really in trouble. Anyway, so, but going based off these stories and just based off the idea of a literal student, graduating high school without being able to read, what do you guys make of these stories and that type of situation? And in particular, I'm curious to know, who do you guys put the fault, blame on in this scenario? Who should be held? Should the schools be held? Well, we'll take it one step at a time. Who do you guys feel is most at fault in a scenario where a student graduates high school and they can't read or write? We'll start with you, Ghost.
It's tough. If I had to assign blame, I'd say majority of it would go. I'd say the majority of it will go to the government first, then the public schools specifically. I guess the public school system / the government first, then the public schools and the teachers specifically.
What do you mean? When you say government, what do you mean? Like the Board of Education? Like what part of the government?
Well, big reason why a lot of these stories come about and why they're happening is because of the No Child Left Behind program.
Oh yeah,
was I believe a government program that was instituted, and the intent behind it was in theory good, but in practice it leads.
So what do you want them to do? Leave children behind? Sorry.
Well, what's the alternative? That literally not learning how to read and write. It's a very difficult situation. Like, even though I said I assign blame to them and then the teachers and the schools, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm putting 90% of the blame on the government and the way that our school systems are set up, because it's kind of a trickle down effect where you say, how does a student get through school without learning how to read or write at all? Or even if they do know how to read and write, we hear all these stories of students having like a 4th grade reading level when they're graduating high school. Number one is because they're kind of forced through the system because of No Child Left Behind and because of all these government programs. And there's not really any resources that the school have to allocate towards teaching the students who are left behind, quote unquote, properly, because, again, of the way our school system is set up. Like, I'm not a teacher. I don't know the ins and outs, but I know the basics, and I know that teachers don't have the time, resources, or capability to individually tutor separate students one by one, after school, whatever, that don't have the ability or don't have the time invested in them to learn how to read. And sometimes, from a personal standpoint, sometimes the parents aren't doing their job. Sometimes the parents can't do the job because they're come from another country and they don't know how to read or write English either. So even though in theory you'd like to see the parents teach the kids, sometimes it's just not an option. And if the parents don't have money to pay for a private tutor, then what are you going to do? It's like there's almost no real good options outside of more funding from the government to support teachers, to support schools, to provide resources for the students that don't have it. And if the schools don't have the resources, it's like there's almost like I don't know what to do. I don't know what the solution is.
Schools definitely
Outside of
resources.
teachers pitching it, doing way more than they are supposed to or they should have to spend their personal time teaching a kid separately outside of the regular curriculum, because you can't stop your entire curriculum just to teach one or two kids when the other kids have testing to worry about, they have requirements, they need to graduate as well. So it's like it just kind of snowballs into what you see here, where the high school district probably should have done more. They definitely should have done more, but it might have been a situation where they didn't really have the means to do more. So that's I guess where I'm at on it. It really sucks and it's really unfortunate. But the answer is really, when it comes down to it, money.
Do you think, or would you say that school systems, and maybe school systems have like a mission statement or objective, are like set up to support individuals, or do you think it's on a like a class?
Public schools, absolutely not. Like, this would be a situation where if the kid was going to a private school, they would have tutors, they would have one-on-one time to have instructors sit with them and go through things as needed at their own pace. But private schools are absolutely insanely expensive and cost stupid money. And even if you get grants, you get scholarships, a lot of people that aren't well off don't know about the alternatives, or they don't really have the means, the connections to get their kids into private school. So public schools they're absolutely not set up to help individual kids. It's more just about helping the majority.
I don't like the bad rap that public schools get sometimes. I think we've all experienced some teachers in our public school education. I guess some people have more technical school, but regardless, that have helped us significantly.
And that's definitely true.
Some time to actually give us a bit more attention.
That's 100% true. And like, there's tons of teachers in the public school system that do their best, that will go above and beyond where possible to help their students individually as well as overall classes. But for one, it kind of shouldn't have to do that. And for two,
so you don't think schools should be set up for that?
What do you mean set up?
Set up to help individuals.
Well, ideally, a public school would have the resources to both teach classes for the general public, for the general kids, and then also, if kids need more help, additional help, one-on-one time. And some public schools do have those resources, and a lot of them don't. And the ones that don't, again, kind of goes back to money. And it's really like, just thinking of like when y'all were in high school or middle school, whatever. Let's say you didn't know how to read or write, and your parents, for whatever reason, weren't able to teach you. Do you really think, like, given how your school systems were set up, that there would have been a chance or opportunity for you to learn outside of class how to read or write from the ground up, essentially?
Yes, I actually do.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that the point about there being no like ability to have one-on-one time, I think it's a bit stretched, because teachers definitely, I mean, it's just a me thing, but there were definitely teachers that had like after school time where you could, if you were struggling or whatever, you needed help, go after school, stay after school, and get more individualized help. I mean, if there's other people there too, then the teacher still does somewhat have to divide their attention, but it's still more focused towards what you're struggling with. Like you could have that conversation. And
Well, you're right, but most of the time when they're trying to help you with stuff, they're helping you with the curriculum that they're teaching, I would say, more often than not.
yeah,
So
and I
if you
think
had to teach a kid, again, that didn't know how to read or write at all, if you had to teach them from the ground up how to do that and then get them caught up on all the curriculum beyond the basics to the level that if you're in 11th grade English that you'd have to be at to do 11th grade English assignments, I don't think time wise, resource wise, like again, a lot of teachers will do their best, but to get them caught up to everyone else, to their peers, that's a lot more than just like after school time. And
Apparently, the 11th grade English ain't that big of a deal if you can graduate with the 3.4 GPA.
you're right. You're right that like not being able to read or write is an extreme case of this where, what I just said, simply staying after to talk about what you're struggling with would not be sufficient if you're talking about, okay, I'm in this particular English class where I'm supposed to be reading all this stuff and I just can't even read. Like there's no staying after that's going to help you. But in that situation, I think it should be more so, okay, this person can't even read. They shouldn't even be in this class. Like we have to put them in whatever base class we have and start from there.
So they gotta be in
in theory, that
short,
would be
the short.
ideal.
I was gonna say the short bus.
I mean,
But this is going back
actually,
to No Child Left Behind.
yes.
They don't let you do that. They will not.
So okay.
will not
I was
let
gonna
you.
ask, like, can you expound on how that's affected things? Because I'm not too familiar actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but more or less, the schools are going to do whatever they can to have all kids graduate, all kids be at the same level. And if a child is at risk of being left behind, there's ways that the school can go above and beyond to push them through, even when they're not ready. So a lot of times when you're like what you're saying, Ace, that a student needs to be bumped down to like, okay, you need to go to the base level, English 101, so to speak.
Yeah.
Maybe it's possible the school wouldn't allow that, or they wouldn't let you change your curriculum around to have the kid be assigned to the class they need to be assigned to because of No Child Left Behind. So
I guess like I struggle to this is first I'm going to say what we just read, like these two examples are clearly or probably cases that illustrate that what you're saying is correct, but it seems weird to me that
I don't know about that one.
yeah, it just seems weird to me that if the person, like in particular the first girl, like she's making it extremely clear that that she can't read. Like she's making it known. She's getting by in other ways, but she's making it known. So it does seem weird to me that they wouldn't just uh, put her in the most remedial class and then allow her to have that. Okay, even if the remedial class is like for people with severe mental disabilities, that theoretically she would be able to come up to speed by just by the fact that she clearly has more capability. She was able to figure out the Google Translate thing, so she's not and she graduated with a good GPA, so she's not dumb by any stretch of the imagination. So she knows, yeah, so she knows how to learn, so she could between her own being driven herself plus being put into a basic class where you actually would learn how to read and write as opposed to studying English as a language, then I feel like it should be a possible thing. Like it should have been a possible thing where she could have gotten through. But yeah, I don't know. Like what you just said about No Child Left Behind, that it does make some sense on how it could encourage situations like this. Um, and I mean, for me, I was thinking like a solution would be more so that there has to be basic things that the person is able to demonstrate that they can do before graduating, and if they don't, then they can't
Like
graduate.
reading, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like read and write, like certain super basic math, arithmetic, things like that. Like they have to be able to demonstrate that. And I mean, clearly, like that's not the case because if a person can figure out how to um, get through their classes without actually knowing those basic things, then um, then there's a failure in that way where there there has to be some like standardized method to be able to determine whether a person can actually do those skills as opposed to just get through classes.
So, follow-up question to that. Let's say they have these standardized tests or whatever, end of high school. You got to be able to do X, Y, and Z to graduate. Let's say they don't pass that. Then what?
Yeah, you can't graduate them.
Okay, so they have to go back to school. What class are they going to?
Like I said, it has to be there. There would have to be this basic these basic classes that would get them up to speed on those basic things. So let's say it's math, you're doing like elementary school math. Let's say it's reading, you're doing elementary school, reading and writing. Like it has to be where those classes exist, or even if it's not full classes, like summer classes or after school classes, things like this, where those things exist to get the student up to speed. And it's not, it's still classes. It's not like it has to be fully individualized, but it would have to be where you are specifically targeting those basic, things that the student would, needs to be able to graduate.
So they take these classes, they are able to pass the high school standardized tests or whatever. So you're telling me that the student has gotten by, we'll use this case as an example, they gotten by 4 years without being able to read or write really at all. They do these basic classes, and then after that they graduate high school when they got through all 4 years of high school before that without these skills, and they should have had to learn stuff way beyond the basic level that they know them at now to graduate, right?
Mhm.
So we're saying you don't have the you don't have the ability to read like a first grader. Being dramatic here. You get to 12th
You
grade.
get that.
You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
pass. So, okay, we go back to the remedial classes. You get the first grade reading level. Then you're able to graduate.
Well, okay. So first of all,
Well,
the standardized testing doesn't have to happen at graduation only. It could also be part of like, okay, you're in ninth grade, you take the test. If you don't pass it, then you have to
yeah, it'd
you
probably
have
be
to
like a year-to-year basis, or maybe
yeah,
just
yeah,
semester,
exactly.
just semester to
Okay.
semester.
Right,
So
right.
so these remedial classes, let's say again, okay, let's say it's ninth grade, like your entry into high school. You take these, you say, okay, you're not at X level. You need to take remedial classes. Again, I'm just being dramatic. First grade reading level. You don't have that first grade reading level. You take the remedial classes to get to, in the span of a semester, whatever, you get to a third, fourth grade reading level. Then what? What about grades 5 through 9? You take
I
more
mean,
remedial.
at some point,
You
it's
take more
gotta be.
remedial classes, and then after that, you just have 2 years of remedial classes to get you up to a ninth grade level. What about those grades 10 and 11 that you didn't have the chance to take the classes for because you were taking remedial classes the whole time before? So you're
Yeah,
2 years behind.
my solution almost requires that the kid be kept back at least 1 year.
That's
In the
that's the
instance
thing.
where they
It's like
can't read.
that's the thing that it ends up being all going back to if there's no funding for these remedial classes, for these tests, for all that, and the government is telling you, again, no child left behind, you have to have them push through. Like, I'm like, let's say like 10% of all high school population isn't passing these tests, and they have to stay in the remedial classes. That's a lot more pressure on the high schools to provide these classes for the kids. Kids are staying an extra year in high school. The capacity of the school is getting bigger, it's getting larger. So I'm not trying to like, I get where you're coming from, and I think in an ideal world, what you're saying is what it should be, but I just don't think there's any way of reasonably implementing any of this now. I think the whole system has to be basically burned to the ground.
Just to provide some,
That's the
just
thing.
to,
It's
just to
not.
provide some
It's
extra
not
quick
that
context, real
dramatic
quick,
of a
and
difference,
I'm
though.
not.
To me,
I'm not always like the biggest of the context police, although I do like to have information. No Child Left Behind Act, the U.S. law, obviously initiated by George W. Bush. It was from 2002 to 2015, so currently it's not necessarily in place. Although they did succeed it with another similar act, Every Child Succeeds Act.
So they reworded it.
Basically. But hopefully they improved it.
Yeah, it's like I don't think that there's a whole lot of cases like this, but how many cases are kids they can read and write, but they're not anywhere close to the level that they have to be at, and they end up just dropping out. And we never hear about it at all because they dropped out and they're going to work at retail or fast food.
I think it's just the thing is too that you talked about okay, let's say they can read and write now at the first grade level or whatever, and now they have to get caught up all the way through the rest of the grades as well. While I agree to some extent, I also like, you can't discount that you can make up for this stuff in college as well. Like, college goes, the classes you can take in college, like in particular, my experience going to the community college I did, the classes that they teach, some of those classes are super, super, super basic. Like, I mean, because they can also gear them.
Right class.
No, they can gear the classes to foreign language people too as well. So I like, while I can't say for sure that there's English classes where it's particularly geared to people who don't speak English, and they do bring them up from that like elementary school level, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a thing as well. So, and you can go from up from there in college. So just because you get to a point where, okay, let's say you have a student who truly, like, you only get them up to reading and writing at an elementary school level, you only get them up to math at an elementary school level, there is still, it's not like that person is guaranteed to fail now if you graduate them and put them out in the world. Let's say, I mean, you can't tweak their GPA, so I can't say you give them a low GPA, but at the same time, like, once they get into college and you take placement tests to get into college too, it's going to show what you can, what your ability is and where you should be placed in college. You're not going to necessarily just be able to like game your way through the system even through college. You can take the opportunity to get to where you need to be once you get into the college system as well.
So are you saying, just to clarify your point, are you saying that if they aren't able to get the education they need in high school, or if they only have a super basic understanding and they're able to pass the placement or the whatever exam at the end of high school, that they should make it up in college? Or are you saying that
possible? Yes, it's possible to make it up in college, and I don't think that is necessarily a problem. Like, high schools, again, in my mind, high schools should have like a basic set of skills that the student needs to learn in order to be able to graduate. So maybe it is a bit further up than reading at an elementary school level. Like, maybe, okay, it's a junior high level, or there's there's certain English like analytical skills you need, as well as just the basic being able to read and writing too. Like maybe it is a little bit more than that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be where you're able to take I don't know, Russian literature class or something and be able to keep up with the rest of the students as well. Like the basic requirements for high school should be sufficient such that when you go to college, you can continue on, or maybe even start back a little bit if you didn't feel comfortable with your skills when you graduated. Like I don't think that the skill level enforced in high school needs to be so rigorous that somebody that isn't up to a high school level basically like would need to take 4 years of high school again, or 8 years of high school to be able to get through to the level of like their peers. That makes sense.
I can see that, but I mean, for one, we're just assuming that they're all going. These high school graduates are all going to college. And again,
that little girl is.
Like I get your overall point, Ace. Like it is valid, but for the college argument, like say, okay, high school wasn't enough, we'll use college to get them caught up. These cases, like this girl and this other high schooler who had GPAs of 3.4 and graduated, I feel like these are with a super basic level of understanding of the English language. I feel like these are very much outliers, and a lot of these kids will have GPAs in the twos, the ones and the twos.
Yeah.
And you think that after they graduate high school, they're getting scholarships?
Yes. I mean, maybe it's not right after, but there's plenty of adults that go back to community college after they're in the workforce for a few years.
Yeah, there 100% are. I'm talking about from a money standpoint. You can't just assume that
not all scholarships and grants are GPA based, high school GPA based.
Not all of them, yes, but a lot of them are merit based, quote unquote, on GPA based, and you will have situations where, from a money standpoint, you're in from financially you can get the
a lot of financial aid and scholarships are more so like income based.
Yeah, that's not going to be everyone.
So as long as you're not rich in I was gonna say stupid. As long as you're not rich in behind.
Like that's what if that happens? Like even not even rich, just middle class, quote.
Yeah, middle class, to be honest.
Like what about that? I'm saying that even if they're able to graduate high school, even if they're able to get caught up in college is not going to be an option for a lot of students. You think that a kid that went through 4 years of awful experience in high school and not getting the help that they needed is going to want to go to college?
That's fine. Then they're not going to go to college and get a scholarship that requires them to have more than a elementary / junior high reading and math level. That's not
we give them
not a problem either.
Test. After a really awful school experience, they pass this test with very little knowledge and applicability that they can apply to the real world or whatever. And
what do you mean very little? If you can read and write and do basic math, that's literally the real world.
Okay, so what are we doing high school for then? What are we doing anything beyond 4th grade for? What are we doing middle school for?
To get scholarships and scholarships that require above and beyond the basics.
So the school system fails them. The school system fails them to the extent that they have a super basic level of math and reading. Super basic. They skipped out on everything else, and then they get screwed on top of that after. What?
How do they get screwed on top of that after if they can get a job? Or maybe in a tech, I mean not a tech job, but
dog, what am I hearing right now?
Dog, you don't need advanced mathematics and reading and writing to get like a carpentry job or a HVAC job.
Again,
like, what are you talking about?
So you're saying this? What's the point of doing high school at all? So by your logic, high school is good for one thing, and that's getting scholarships to college.
He didn't
And that's
say
all.
no. He didn't say one
I didn't mean
thing. Knock it
scholarship. I
off.
meant degrees, like college degrees. Yes, yeah.
I strongly
I
disagree
mean,
with
everybody says like what? I mean, truly, like everybody says, why did I take X classes in college anyway? Like, I mean, in high school anyway. Like these different literature classes or whatever that I don't remember anything from anyway. So it's not like I'm not trying to change that and make these things more, I don't know, valuable or anything like that. In particular, like while I can say there are certain things in high school that I felt at the time they weren't very helpful to me, and I didn't go to school. I didn't go to college to get a history degree either. But I still think those things were valuable to me. So if a kid, if somebody else, because they can't read and write, they don't get to the level where I was able to take, certain classes, certain history class, things like that, and get that knowledge. It is unfortunate, but at the same time, if the high school can get them to the basic level where they can provide for themselves when they get out of high school, they can get a job where they don't need an advanced understanding of the history of the country or mathematics, which is a lot, if not the majority of jobs out there, then you're fine. Like the point is to get the person ready for life after school. But you don't need that much.
You say you don't need it that much. These kids haven't had the opportunity or the chance to learn anything beyond the basics, to learn what they might want to branch out into, what they might want to build a career based off of. They're literally learning how to do basic reading, how to basic write, how to do basic math. And then you're saying, okay, you graduated high school with no real prospects of doing any type of college, and there are options. Obviously, you're not like dead in the water. You can go to trade school, you can look into community college, you can do different things. But at the end of the day, you're starting way, way, way behind the eight ball compared to someone that has had a conventional college or conventional high school, middle school, whatever learning experience. And you're just saying, well, sucks to suck. Sorry about that, but at least
At some point, it does have to get to like.
Damn, so you must have been one of the lawmakers behind No Child Left Behind. Crazy.
But how is that true? Like I am advocating for keeping the student behind. So if
he wants to leave him behind.
Yeah, I mean not leave him behind.
I guess
by
that logic.
Make them stay back if they can't get to a certain level. I'm advocating for that, but at the same time, I think you have to be realistic about the minimum requirements that are needed for the student to graduate high school. It shouldn't be necessarily a lofty thing where they're able to take. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but like AP courses, or even honors courses, like if they can take the basic standard classes, get past the standardized test, they should get put out into the world. Like they should be able to leave high school.
I mean, at a base level, you're right, but my thing isn't about what the requirements of high school graduation shouldn't be. It's more so they missed out on the entire fountain of. Let me slow down.
You're bugging.
I'm gassing high school.
You don't even like that stuff.
That's the thing. I don't even like it, and I still can acknowledge that there is value in learning things beyond the basics. Like I'm not saying that they should have to know the ins and outs of Shakespeare. Like y'all know, I think a lot of high school shit and school shit is stupid, but they still deserve an opportunity to experience that to some extent. And if we're just saying, okay, you have the very basics after 12 years of education, we didn't do our jobs, but we did them good enough to where you can graduate and you can open up a book and you can read a sentence or two.
I guess the problem is if we're trying to have the discussion of like dealing with people that literally are at the bottom of like, can they read or write? Are you saying that should be required, or is that you said they should be able to experience it? Is that something required, or is it?
I'm saying the fact that the school system is able to get them to a point where we're even having this discussion where they're at a senior in high school and they don't have the knowledge of a fourth grader, that to me indicates that the entire system needs to be rebuilt, not just from the high school level, but starting. I don't get how that's a controversial statement.
No,
Like,
it's because you're saying that the entire system needs to be rebuilt.
yes.
We know that's not gonna happen. So why don't we just do the small, like, to me, the things that I'm proposing are not that outrageous. They're not that outrageous.
They're
They
not
work within the
outrageous,
system.
Ace, but even these small things, it's like I feel like for too long, I say we, but obviously we have no choice in the matter. We're not making any hard-hitting decisions here, but people in general, the government in general, the system that's set up in general has been too long of just kind of complacent, like, yeah, the way it is isn't great, but we have to make these small concessions to make it a little better. But it's not working. And these two cases are kind of probably extreme outliers, but how many have we not heard about that kids are experiencing this? And again, it boils down to if the schools and the system is built in a way that there's not resources that can be allocated, if there's not time that can be spent, if there's not enough teachers that can spend the time to get the students where they need to be, not just at a high school level, but at a middle school level, at an elementary level, that indicates a huge problem. That's minor little concessions. Like, I'm sure that there's probably high schools and schools that do some of the things that you mentioned, Ace. And I'm not saying that every single school system is like in a bleak and desolate place and there's no hope, but overall, the way the system is constructed and the way that it's been in place is not advantageous to anyone that does not have a conventional means of learning or knowledge. And I get that it sucks, and sometimes we just say that there's nothing we can do. We got to do what we can, even if it's not much. But I think that I don't think that's just enough to say. I think that there needs to be a big overhaul instead of just minor concessions, because the minor concessions are still going to screw the students at the end of the day, even if they're a little better off than they would have been otherwise.
Nah. The problem is your overhaul. Like, can you even describe it? Like, describe what would have to happen for your overhaul to take place? Like,
maybe we shouldn't get into that because
like, yeah, I get your point in that.
Ace is kind of leading to the discussion of, like, yeah, fundamentally large change.
Yeah, I'm not gonna outline my 10-step plan here, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, like, I think the most important thing to get things started is money. That's kind of what it boils down to.
Let's put money on. Yes, money can solve pretty much everything, but
yes, it can. It really can.
I don't think it necessarily solves everything. Still, I mean, the money has to be backed up by a very, very meticulously outlined plan for exactly how.
Yeah, and you pay people the money to outline this plan.
Ghost's not wrong.
It's really that simple. It's that simple.
If we paid a tutor for every little student in the entire United States, we'd probably be straight in that sense. But we obviously don't have the time, resource, money to do that. So.
All I got from this conversation is that y'all are anti-education. Pro-government. That's what
What? That's a crazy.
That's a
crazy.
I'm joking.
We got the evidence of the pod. I don't even have to defend myself. That's an insane take.
Regardless of that wild takeaway, I do like the fact that we were able to implement some level of what you guys. Because I was gonna be like some of the later questions I have, like what you guys perceive to be some level of solutions to prevent these type of scenarios, and some of them might be a bit more drastic than others, but it's better to be solution based than nothing. I think the only other thing, because we did have a pretty healthy discussion on this, you guys didn't really mention parents at all in this equation. Do they not? Are they really like without blame in a scenario like this? And I'm so like, because my experiences are literally indicative of. When it came to reading and write, that was a direct result of my parent, but you guys didn't really seem to mention them. What's good with that?
Parents definitely aren't blameless, but in this case, like I guess in the first case specifically, I kind of left them out of the equation because a lot of quote unquote fresh off the boat or people that don't know how to speak the language at all, fair or not, like they just sometimes will not learn English because either they don't have the resources or they just have a mindset of they don't want to learn it. And it'll fall on the kids to learn it themselves through school. And sometimes the kids will end up being translators for the parents because the parents, again, they're old, they're set in their ways, and they either don't want to or they just don't have the resources, the opportunity to learn. So there are some cases where I think it is extenuating, but yeah, it kind of was unsaid. But ideally, if the school system is not pulling its weight, the parents should be the ones really the parents should be the ones teaching kids how to read and write, do basic math, like from when they're young. But a lot of the times that's not being done. Sometimes it's because of negligence. Sometimes it's just, again, they don't really know how to teach them. But I'm more willing to blame like the institution because of those extenuating circumstances. But yeah, like at the end of the day, the parents, if you're in a position to teach your kids, then yeah, it's on you, kind of. But
the crazy part is, and maybe I'm just tweaking, and you guys know I am often tweaking. I feel as if like listeners, based off what you're just saying, like you low-key make a roundabout justification for like anti-immigration. Because you can come to this country, you can't read or write yourself, or be able to teach your child how to read or write, but you can earn a living. But you put them in school, and then they have tenuous amounts of struggle. I feel like a lot of people would say then you shouldn't really be allowed.
No, that is not my stance.
And furthermore, is it the system's duty to be able to teach somebody that's a foreign national through that education
if
system?
the system is built that both parents have to work to afford a place to live, and the system wants your kids to be in school for 8+ hours a day, and you don't have the opportunity to teach your kids on a daily basis for multiple hours, then yeah, I'd say the system is obligated. Ideally, then there'd be parents can stay home some days of the week, or it's not just you're out all day at work and you get home, you see your kids, you see your family for a couple hours, and you have to go to sleep and get ready for the next day. Ideally, you have time to teach a kid, you have time to go through stuff with them, but that's not the way that
we'll put
things work.
All the emphasis on the system, but but the parents
basically
can't spare,
like
but the parents can't spare an hour.
Dog. Yes, a lot of parents can spare an hour, and a lot of them won't because for whatever reason, they're negligence, they're too tired, they don't want to. But some parents literally can't. Some parents literally can't.
We can't just zero step past how much negligence is in the equation.
I'm not.
I'm not trying.
I get what you're saying.
It should be something we're conscious of. Like, I don't think we can just zero step, like you said.
I mean, I am, but do you really expect parents to, like, if you're teaching a kid how to how to read, how to write, do math, it's not you spend an hour a day or even 2 hours a day and that's it. Like,
listen,
I get it.
I'm not a parent yet.
A lot of people just aren't in a position.
And I've already spoken. I already mentioned. I'm kind of speaking from a place of like my own, and I don't typically like to do that. I'm speaking from my own anecdote. I've had a parent that they worked full time, and it was late. It was getting late at night. It was around that like 9 o'clock hour or time you getting ready for bed. They sat me down and made me read. I wasn't going to bed unless I did that. And then speaking for myself, like I have younger siblings, and I've but I've helped them out with work, and I've sometimes after like a long day I'm completely pooped from work, and but I obviously want them to succeed, and I didn't even have to teach myself because of some of the new math, but I that definitely has to be in the equation. Like we can't just like it's your parent. Like it's your there. Who else would be more invested in the well being and knowledge of a person outside of your parent? I would think even more so than the school system or the government.
You're right, but the way that it's set up is that it's like I'll say it's harder than it should be to do what you're saying is like that's the way parents, families should be, but it's harder than it should be to do that. I'll leave it at that. Because you're right. Ideally, your parents are, even though they're tired, even though they want to just go to sleep, they're staying up, they're helping the kids, doing this and that. But I think if you have to jump through 50 million hoops to do something that should be just a basic human requirement, there's something wrong.
I was gonna say that I didn't bring parents into this discussion because we're talking about like essentially the things that the ways in which the school system failed, and really like the ways in which these failures could be prevented in a like measurable way that like that where you could put policies in place to enforce. Where with parents, like, yes, of course, I do believe some blame lies with them, if not a significant amount of the blame. I don't see how you enforce parents teaching the kids really anything. Like, I think that's why you have the school system, is because parents, at the end of the day, there's some instances where like the parents are just not going to teach the kids anything. So in those instances, like the school system is supposed to be what fills in that gap, where it gets them ready for the real world, gets them ready to become an adult that can go out and work.
I got you. Yeah, if we're trying to be archer solution based, then you really can't do much at it in a person's home, but you can definitely, in theory, do a lot in the school system. So I got it. Makes sense to me. And to be honest, there's even more surrounding these type of conversations that we could delve into. Like, in this particular case, it does mention that a judge did rule in the favor of the young student because they had certain disabilities. There's also conversations we had whether what should be the consequence for schools or for systems in place when you do see these failures. But I think we definitely had a dope discussion thus far, and it can be something we revisit. Unfortunately, I really say that with sincerity, I don't think this would be the last case of a student that literally passes with high GPAs, high marks, but literally doesn't have the skills to even read or write, which is, again, pretty wild to me. So for now, we'll leave off from there, unless there's anything else that you really want to mention.
Real quick, I will say Massachusetts has free community college, so that does significantly help.
Really?
Yeah.
And not like free community college.
I don't know about that.
There are free four-year schools you can go to in Massachusetts.
Damn.
And also, speaking of that,
why did I pay to go to BCC? For a couple
It's recent.
Yeah, some of these things are really recent. Really recent.
Oh my god.
And that reminds me, I actually want to bring up some quick data. We love data on this, and if I remember, I might post this link. So you might be surprised, or after this, you might be unsurprised. 21%, which is not the worst in the world, but it is still 20+%. 21% of adults in the U.S. are illiterate in 2024, so all the way up until last year. 54% of adults in the U.S. have literacy below 6th grade level, so they can still read, but it's very low. 20% below 5th grade level. 34% of adults lacking literacy proficiency were born outside the United States, and here's where it was why you reminded me of it. Massachusetts is the state with the highest rate of child literacy. so it's a mass. New Mexico, of all places, is a state with the lowest child literacy. New Hampshire was a state with the highest percentages of adults who are considered literate, and California is a state where the lowest literacy rate. Oh, okay, adult literacy. Okay, so New Mexico has the lowest child literacy rate, and California has the lowest adult literacy rate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what they got going on in Cali and New Mexico, but I get the West Coast, but they need to get together.
We don't got a problem.
They have a high immigration.
More than half the country, but we don't got a problem. We're good.
California has high immigration.
Ooh. I'm telling you, you guys are sounding like MAGA.
Dog, like I'm not anti-immigration. Like I would expect that. Like if you come from another country, you're not gonna know the language. That's perfectly acceptable to me. But
should the person from another country be able to work past high school and all these things?
Yes, they should have the opportunity. Yeah, that's my whole argument. Well, some people think that they shouldn't. So some people think that. Just
are you talking about me again or not?
More than half, literally more than half the country, not an adult literally. But we can just throw them out. The system's fine. The system's fine though. The system's fine.
Anyway,
are they surviving? Do they have jobs?
Are
they providing?
This guy.
Anyway, unless there's anything else, we can go on to the next topic. So, we always got a moment to just a little bit of hip hop. We're hip hop Jason here. And actually, this interview, this story broke like months ago at this point. This is surrounding Lil Baby when he put out his album Wham at the top of the year. It definitely debuted. Is that what the professionals say? With mixed reviews. But this was so interesting to me. I'm kind of pissed we didn't talk about it sooner. But this was so interesting to me because this happens. This has been happening all throughout probably time. But we've definitely seen it a lot in hip hop where artists get older. Of course, nobody can beat the battle of age. Artists go older, and you see their demographics start to change. Obviously, there was once upon a time where like all the teenagers were listening to Nas, to Tupac, Biggie, but now the demographic of people that are really, really, really into Nas is probably going to skew a little older, and we see this. And usually, and I don't know about usually, but we see a lot of times where it's like a graceful transition. But sometimes there's this weird situation of like we're starting to call an artist like washed or they're not really hip anymore because younger audiences aren't listening to it. So we've seen that time and time again. But this particular case seems like it's really fresh in our minds because, I don't know off the top of my head when was Lil Baby's debut album, but it must have been in the last like 7 plus or minus. Maybe it was 2014. Maybe it could have been 10 years ago. I think a lot of people would still consider him to be like a relative, not the newest guy in the block, but he's not old. He's even further. He's a few years removed from even like Cole and Drake and stuff. So definitely a newer act by a lot of metrics. But like I mentioned, when he released his album Lamb, it actually didn't get the highest level of love and ratings from in particular Kai Cenat, who is like one of the faces of like a newer generation because of his popularity and experience as it pertains to streaming. So they're doing an interview with Complex, and this was post when Kai Cenat, or if you don't know, Kai Cenat often will do a stream. It will do a live stream where he does like a live music, what they call it, listening session to new artists, and he also did it with Lil Baby's album, and he gave it a 6 out of 10, which average, about a little above average. And obviously, when we're talking about an artist that's as big as Lil Baby, you'd think it would be way higher, but Let's hear what he had to say in reacting to that score that he got from Kai.
Kai Cenat had reviewed the project. Were you able to see that review, and what did you think of it?
I seen like little clips of it, but people like Kai Cenat, I feel like they like younger. You know, like they ain't gonna really to understand how I'm coming. You kind of gotta be a little older to get it.
Who do you think is like the right age demographic?
See, that's something that's like changed anyway, because I never would think no age demographic good to like rate music unless you're like a music person. The screamers and the people who like do reviews is like they personal opinion.
So you're an artist who still like respects the opinion of a music pundit or like a journalist or someone who's.
I respect everybody's opinion. Everybody got opinions. Cause that's a part of like the new generation. They don't even have that when I first started dropping it. You might got one or two people who do like reviews. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like more of a, I don't know what to call it, what it be now though. I could honestly see it be like, it's just like to go viral. I see people post like they hate a song, but they still playing the song.
And so that's kind of what you've stopped paying as much attention to.
I ain't never paid attention to that type, but now I just see it more. But I never paid attention to it, whether if it was a great review or not. I don't look at stuff like that. Not saying for me, I'm saying for anybody. Like I never go and watch somebody else review an album. I'm gonna listen to the album and feel how I feel. You know?
Let's start our podcast. Do you want to be a podcast? We often do music reviews. And also, you know, even I kind of fell out from the music reviews channels and content creators, we do always got to give a salute to like the dead in hip hop, so the world. I'm gonna say Nardo Wick, Needle Drops, Anthony Timantanos, like they really were some of the predominant faces of, you know, putting some high level conscious effort into reviewing music. But that aside. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if do I even have to ask you guys to like? I guess start off like it's kind of agreed that like it's kind of interesting the fact that he's still somewhat recent artist in recent times. Do we view him like that, or is he legacy artist at this point?
It feels recent to me.
He's very recent.
Okay, just wanted to clear that up across the board. So yeah, you know, that being the case, and obviously, like I said, we all get older. You can't fight that. What is seeing this? What comes to your mind? Is it like really unbeatable? Does he sound like he's a bit salty, low key? Is it like can you really just not at some point in time continue to make music that resonates with younger folks? Is this really a sign that he's on this decline and really has nothing to do with the younger versus older generation? What do you think, Ace? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna necessarily put it on him and say he's salty or anything like that. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt that this is actually how he feels. He just feels that he's not connecting with the younger generation. He doesn't expect it, but that is surprising to me because I do associate his him in general with connecting to the younger generation. So if he's not, I don't know who is actually listening to him if he's not connecting to the younger generation. So yeah, there's that. Like it's surprising from that standpoint that he would say that he doesn't expect his sound to resonate with a younger audience. But
and that's why people are saying like, nah, dog, maybe you're just missing the mark, because if you can't connect to the younger generation, what are you gonna connect with, the old heads?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would be the response. Like, it does seem to be a I don't want to say delusional, but like an incorrect conclusion that he's drawn. Even if it's sincere, it does seem to be incorrect, and that's what I would posit if I were the interviewer.
Damn.
But yeah, other than that, like I'm fine with his response. It just seems a little far-fetched, like that he wouldn't think that his stuff connects to the younger generation, or that's not his core audience.
Damn. What about you, Ghost? What comes to your mind in listening to his reaction to getting that type of review from a quote unquote younger? Because I think he is in his 30s at this point. Kai is in his early 20s, so I guess it is a quote unquote younger generation. But it's kind of like how we call you a younger generation. You're only a few years off of us. What do you think about this?
I don't even know what's a few, to be honest. But I'm not gonna say it's salty because it didn't really come off that way. But like, Kai Cenat is the exact age when I think of Lil Baby's demographic. Like, he's 23. That is the exact age that I would think his demographic is. And I noticed he didn't answer when the interviewer asked what he thinks his real demographic is, because if it's people my age,
Well,
I don't know.
I caught that too. I don't know if he's conscious enough to do this. I think he kind of did want to avoid that because, it gets awkward. But from a general perspective, you probably never wanted to pull a specific answer to that because you don't want to alienate anybody.
Yeah, I guess it might just be PR, but I mean, that aside, like, I don't know if there's anything with his take, because I do agree that a lot of these streamers, like, I don't want to single anyone out, but a lot of these streamers don't be really knowing music. It's just kind of rating and based on vibes and stuff, which is fine, but it's a lot different from getting reviews from people that actually listen to music and do it for a living, even though at the end of the day it is all opinions. But I don't know. I guess I didn't have a huge problem with what he's saying here, even though I do think there's a little bit of cope.
Yeah. Well, what if anything would you say to Lil Baby or an artist that feels if they no longer connect with the youth? Would you recommend they try to not reenact? What's what I'm looking for? Like, make music that's of a similar vibe to their previous music? Do you think they should specifically try to cater to an older audience? What if any advice would you give them?
I mean, we might have discussed this before, but I mean, you know me, I'm not gonna tell him to do that because come off as fake and corny. It's probably gonna be trash.
If they did what specifically? Sorry.
Say it again.
If they did
Cater
what
to the
specifically?
younger audience.
If they cater to a different audience solely for the purpose of trying to reach a new demographic for money, like,
well, not for money, but to put out music that they'll think they will enjoy.
Yeah, okay, it's for money.
I mean,
These
in so much that all artists put out a product for it to recuperate, to make a profit.
Okay, putting my hate aside, if it is just purely for wanting to reach another audience, just so your music reaches as much people as possible, even so, going out and making music with the sole express purpose of doing that, of reaching a specific demographic, instead of letting it happen naturally or organically, just it really comes off as unauthentic and fake. Even if you're successful at it, like look at Drake.
What if you feel you're losing your audience though?
Losing your audience, I guess it becomes, are you losing your audience because you're just doing the same thing and they're getting tired of it even if you're doing it at the same level, or is your music just not as good and that's why you're losing your audience?
Yikes. Jeez. What about you, Ace? If you were in the seat of a manager or an AR or just a music, just give some general advice to an artist, and they felt as if a younger generation doesn't really connect with their music, what would you, if anything, recommend to them? Start making music that connects with that youth, or chase something else, or do something else?
I wouldn't necessarily say make music that connects with the youth. I still think you should make music that you want to make, but you gotta figure a way to try to get it out to the younger audiences and make it not make it go viral, but like try to get it to be like a viral thing where if it's not if it's not that you're if it's what was I gonna say? Like can you work with artists that are still relevant to younger audiences, or
The trick
can
shot.
you yeah, or can you I don't know, with the approach of like making more social media appearances, or like even going on Kai's stream or something like that to get yourself out in front of the audiences that you're trying to target. I think that would be more so the direction I would say, but the music itself does, I think, have to feel in some way organic, and it is going to get to a point where like once you get into your 30s, you can't, well, Drake being the anomaly, you can't really just continue to rap about stuff that's going to appear to a younger audience and seem to still be genuine. Like at some point the I don't know, the content or the way in which you go about making music, it has to feel genuine. And if you're not at that stage truly in your life, if you're not young, carefree type thing, then regardless of whether you try to make that music, I think you're much more likely to fail than doing those other things.
Yeah, I actually very much tend to agree with you. Um, it's just so kind of well, one, the gag is like yeah, like you said, like if you really wanted to stay hip, then you go hit up a Kai Cenat or these days Blackboy Max and really get on their stream. The problem is, and someone like DJ Academic can break this down better, but like one thing I really observed, there's not many artists that when they go on these streams, and it's crazy because you see a lot more artists doing streams, like Tyga's streaming now, Lizzo's streaming. There's a lot of artists doing streams because they gotta still pay the bills. And you just realize some artists and streamers, they're just different. There's this big disconnect. I think it was really highlighted by the Blackboy Max Lil TJ Fabi Foreign Airbnb situation. But like rappers, which you wouldn't think these days, because we think of a lot of these rappers these days kind of like goofier and a little bit more eccentric. But a lot of rappers are still too what's the expression, too cool for school. Like they get on the screen and sorry I had that K, you know me, and they'll just be kind of chilling there.
Yeah.
When the meta is like, chat, what do you think of this? Chat, how do you do this? Chat, like chat, like what do I do? Like you have to be very talkative, active, proactive when you're doing a stream. And I've literally seen like Lil Baby. Lil Baby's been on Kai Cenat streams, and he's just chilling there. He's just
he doesn't really seem like he would be somebody that would be.
What did that chatter say? Like he'll just won't even really be talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool. It's like those two worlds don't have to intersect like one to one. There are some artists that are really cool, like Salute to T-Pain. Like he's actually one of the best streamers.
Wait, real quick, did you see when he subbed in for Moist Critical?
I didn't see the whole thing, but I did see a bit of that.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, T-Pain is just authentically just living life, so he fits more into that. So yeah, artists definitely have to find something. Remember back in the day when it was like the dance meta, where you had to make a song that people could dance to on like TikTok and stuff?
Oh, I don't.
Fair enough. I feel it's one. Oh yeah, the last thing I was gonna say, and obviously I never want to, unless I want to, insult artists and streamers and things like other content creators, but at the same time, and I know you all haven't probably gave Wham an extensive listen, but like, remember when on the last Lil Baby album, or the one maybe 2 albums ago, where where there was that little thing going on? I think I sent it to y'all, where like every record sounded the same. I think that's the conversations that artists should be having before we even talk about what demographic you appeal to.
Yeah.
I dead ass think, and I don't know if labels do this, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. Every artist should do one of those things where they do a shortcut of every one of your songs and just make a 1 minute, 2 minute clip about it. And if you go through that 2 minute, 1 minute clip, and it sounds like the record never changed, you might need to go back to the drawing board. You might, and I'm not saying different sonics, different sounds make for a better album, but there's a lot to be said when it sounds like one record just played all the way through. I'm just
do that for the Baby, change his whole career.
Yeah, exactly.
Low key, I'd be kind of listening to some albums that like I'm not familiar with and want to get a vibe of. I'll be skipping around, and like if I hear multiple tracks that sound the same, I'm not listening to your album.
Yeah. But I digress. That was just a point that kind of came to mind. All the same, it's also to Lil Baby. I definitely enjoy a lot of his verses, so especially when he collabs with Dirk, but that probably won't happen ever again. That's neither here nor there. Unless there's anything else, we can move on to the next topic. And I think that was actually the last. So, let me adjust.
This is super off topic. Well, not that off topic, but y'all remember when Joey Badass was pressing Fantano? Because he made it his album.
Yeah.
He was crying to it.
Was that before
It was,
all about the?
It might have been his most recent album, the one that was not that good.
No, I think it was ABBA, whatever that stands for.
All American Badass.
Yeah, I think that
No,
was.
it was. I thought it was the one with the Steve's tribute track.
2020 or 2000.
Yeah, I thought it was. I might be wrong. I thought it was 2000.
I thought it was a little longer ago, but I definitely remember that. Yeah, artists really used to step to Fantano. Drake stepped to Fantano at one point. Absol tried to have this little weird debate with Fantano.
Yo, Drake stepping to Fantano was actual comedy.
I forgot about that.
It was the most cringe.
Wasn't he in the DMs?
It was in Instagram DMs. And
They're always in Fantano's DMs.
Fantano made a parody video, not even exposing the message, and then Drake posted it on his own Insta and just aired himself like that. That shit was hilarious. It was some cringeworthy stuff too. Yeah, that's funny. He be getting them going.
Yeah, that's the risk you take when if you want to be a professional music reviewer. Artist.
I think Joey closed the loop on it though, because I remember seeing a recent interview he did with Fantano where they joked.
Yeah, I don't think it was like. I don't think Joey was pressing him. Like it wasn't like really bad. It was more so like kind of laughing about it. But at least from what I saw, but yeah, Drake was definitely salty.
Hey man, if you're ever losing that battle where you're beefing with the music reviewer and you're losing, all you gotta do is pull up the Lauryn Hill clip. Of course, I'm going to be sentimental about my art or something like that. I don't know. I forget. Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff as always. It's been and we haven't been ultra consistent. For the past 2 weeks, but once we chopped down the videos and we're putting out videos every day, it doesn't even feel like we're inconsistent because there's always content. Anyway, before we get to the end of the podcast, as far as get it off your chest, I gotta go back here one more time. Hold up, we got to give a rest in power. Yes, I'm not sure if y'all heard, but George Lowe, the iconic VA, best known for his Space Ghost Coast to Coast, has died at the age of 67. That is not that old. So definitely condolences to their brother and his family. Short, quick anecdote. The main reason why I even brought this is fun fact about me. First of all, I was afraid of everything as a kid. I'm like, I could barely look at a Goosebumps book cover without getting nightmares. I was scared of everything: the dark, ghosts, vampires, all that. But one thing I was afraid of randomly, I was afraid of space ghosts. Like something about like the mask, and like he's kind of a hero, but he looks kind of weird. I was scared. I was afraid of that shit. And I would literally, I would say like I got older, I kind of stopped caring. But I would literally like stay away from Adult Swim because I didn't want to bump into that. Like I don't want to get nightmares. So this brother is like single-handedly responsible for ensuring that I didn't watch Adult Swim when I was really young. Just fun fact. But yeah, again, condolences. Rip. And randomly, as you all know, I'm always interested in like lore and stuff. There's actually like a revitalized comic book series about space ghosts where they do with a bunch of classic characters. They give them a whole backstory, and these space ghosts have like a tragic backstory, and it's serious and dark and gritty. That's here and there. Okay. Now, as we wrap this puppy up, before we close out, as always, what, if anything, are we looking forward to? You know what they say about something to look forward to, whether it be in the near future, far future.
Casino trip next weekend.
Yep, I'll use the same one. Should be fun.
Even though gambling is haram. But I'm mostly just joking. Dang, I wonder. Ooh, this is kind of like an edgy joke. I don't really make edgy jokes. I guess the light version is, I think it's kind of, I think Ramadan's going on, so I wonder if we'll see any Middle Eastern brothers. But as for me, I don't know if I mentioned it before. And if I mentioned it before, I don't care because I'm still hyped about it. But they're fine. I don't know why I'm saying finally, but they're finally making a animated series, an anime about All I Need Is Kill.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wanted to. Pull up the thing in the Discord, Ace. If you don't know, while he pulls it up, All I Need Is Kill is a manga series that got adapted for some reason to a live action, relatively dope ass movie, or live action to raw American styled action. And now they're making an anime based off of it. We'll actually play the clip of the trailer because I'm hyped, so I want everybody else to be hyped too. Before you play, let me get the right scene.
Confusing description.
I know, right? Okay, play it.
That animation style looks so good.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah.
It was a novel, you said?
I don't know if it started off as a novel. It was a manga series. That they made into just a live action, like very Western style. It looked like Transformers basically. A movie that I actually do want to see one day. But they renamed it as like not the Edge of Tomorrow. What did they name it as? You remember Ghost?
If you're talking about the Tom Cruise movie,
yeah, I think so.
it was
Edge of Tomorrow.
Wait, it was based off of this specifically? I know it has a similar premise. But I didn't know this is the basis.
It literally is.
Oh, I
that
didn't know
makes sense. Oh yeah. Yep,
And
that's
now
what
they're
it
making
says.
the anime, which I'm surprised they
That's
didn't make in the first place.
crazy.
I'm here to talk about like it's some like indie thing. No, it's like literally like Tom Cruise.
Yes. Edge of Tomorrow was supposed to be really good. I never watched it, but
Yeah, I mean, we definitely will. We'll probably watch it soon, if not around the time this comes out. Anyway, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. TLDR. If you're into like
stories are great.
If you're into like science fiction, kind of apocalyptic type environment, you'll rock with this.
it was really a novel. Like just a novel.
Yeah, I didn't know about. I'm pretty sure there was. I didn't know about that part. So that's why I didn't want to confirm or deny. But anyway, I think that is about it. I might be forgetting something. I typically am, but I think we put enough content in for this particular podcast. And as always, I thank you guys for coming out here and doing this podcast thing. Really appreciate it. And again, apologies for like the kind of delay tonight, but I think it was still pretty much average podcast time. We would have started probably a bit earlier if everything looks like a normal night. But and we also greatly appreciate any and all listeners, and we hope to listen to our podcast that you might gain new perspective or might learn something new. Like for all the young boys and girls out there, first of all, y'all need to read some more books, and y'all need to put away them Crocs. Or we hope you found us entertaining. But if none of that happened for you, then all we have to say to you is be warmed and be filled. Thank you. Stop the recording. And then